Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Cognitive Recalibration Podcast. As always, I'm your host Shravan. We've got Tarun sitting here opposite me.
Hey everyone.
And today we're going to be talking about Invincible, which is the Amazon animated series based off the Image comics. So I think it finished a couple of weeks ago, didn't it? Or was it last week? I can't remember.
Was it last week or a couple?
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah, it finished reasonably recently.
Yeah.
We've just been caught up with doing other reviews. I think we had Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then we had Mortal Kombat, which we had to do. So here we are talking about Invincible. A lot of people may not know about this comic, and those that do have probably already watched the show. So it's probably pretty hard to talk about this without spoiling it, because a lot of the intrigue in this show is from the spoilers, especially after the first episode. But we'll do a high-level non-spoiler review, and then we'll jump into spoilers after that. So before we do that, just a bit of background on the show. Like I said, it's an Image Comics created by Robert Kirkman. So he was closely associated with the show as well. It's got a very big voice cast, some big names. So the title character is played by Stephen Yeun, or Yeun. Well, it's spelled Yeun, like Y-E-U-N.
Yeah.
But I've watched interviews with him and Conan. He seems to be on Conan a lot. And he said that Conan was saying his name wrong for like 8 years.
Okay.
Apparently it's Yeun.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was on Walking Dead, I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
that's what he's known from. But he's not on it anymore, I don't think.
He's dead.
So apart from him, there's Sandra Oh, J.K. Simmons. They're sort of the main cast, but then there's all these peripheral characters who also have big name actors voicing them. So I think an executive producer on this one was Seth Rogen, or producer or executive producer, and he also voices one of the...
Interestingly, he's making a live action Invincible.
Not with him though.
No, but he's writing and directing it, I think.
Okay.
No, maybe just writing it with... I think he writes a lot of stuff with Evan Goldberg, does he? Is that him? Or is that someone else?
Not too sure. Who's Evan Goldberg?
He's like a writer.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they're making a live
action
Invincible.
Yeah.
Do I sound really nasally?
No, I think you sound all right. Anyway, Tarun's not.
I'm dying.
Yeah,
it's just hay fever.
Yeah, he's got really bad hay fever. So
yeah,
if he sounds like he's dying, that's not
why. And I may sneeze a couple of times during this. Yeah,
and I'll keep them in. I won't edit them out.
Please don't. I would rather you kept them in.
Yeah. So there's all these a large variety of cast members. A thing about Amazon, which I didn't know about, Amazon Prime Video, is when you pause a scene.
Oh, you don't even need to pause it. I know what you're talking about. If you just move your cursor over the screen, if you're watching it on your laptop.
On your laptop. On your TV, I think you have to pause it.
Yeah. Then you see who the actors are, and it gives you like a trivia.
Scene, in that particular scene, yeah. So whoever's on the screen at that time, it would kind of knows who the actors playing those roles are. So that's pretty...
And it gives you trivia as well.
Oh, yeah.
Have you read the trivia?
Not all. I didn't pause it that much, but yeah, there is some trivia. Is it trivia about that scene, or is it just general trivia?
About that scene, most of the time, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is it because this is an Amazon Studios?
No, it's on all of them.
So if we watch just some random movie on it,
yep,
it should have it as well.
Yep. If you watch a Telugu movie on it, it has it.
That's pretty interesting. That's not a feature on Netflix, is it? I don't think Netflix or Disney Plus have that. So that's very unique to Amazon. But we're not reviewing Amazon Prime Video here, so it's...
No, we are. They paid us. They paid us to review it.
Who else is in the cast? There's, I think, Zazie Beetz.
Wally Goggins.
Walter Goggins, yeah. So even for very minor roles, they've got quite famous actors, I guess.
It's got that guy from Mad Men in one of the roles.
So not John Hamm.
No, it's John Hamm. Yeah, it's got John Hamm in it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about spoilers. I can't remember which.
It's like a minor side character.
Yeah.
It's got, what do you say?
I think it had Mahershala Ali.
Yeah, it has Mahershala Ali. Yep.
He's pretty much a side character. I mean, he's in like one episode, but yeah.
Who plays Eve? It's Gillian Jacobs from Community.
And from, what was that magic movie on Disney Plus with, you know that magic, is it Magic Camp or something? Whatever it was, she's in that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
I think it's Magic Camp. It's like Camp Rock, but with magic.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
She's probably not known for that, but anyway. The composer, in terms of music, is John Paisano. Remember we talked about this guy because he owns a chain of restaurants in Melbourne?
Paisano, yeah. I remember Paisano. Paisano International.
Yeah, so he did the music for Miles Morales. So that's when we talked about him. But yeah, he did the music for this one as well.
And he makes beautiful Italian food.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
average Italian food.
it's better than Sophia's.
Yes.
I think that's what we established last time.
Yeah, everything's better than Sophia's, though.
So there's 8 episodes in the first season. It has been renewed for 2 more seasons, actually. And in terms of the comics, so the publisher is Skybound Entertainment, which was previously Image Comics, I think, or they own Image Comics. And then the first appearance of Invincible was in 2002 August in the comic Savage Dragon issue 102. But since then, Invincible has its own comic book run as well. There is also a motion comic, I think, that you can watch. I'm not sure where you watch it though. Is it on Comixology, I guess?
Is it motion comic just the comic slides, but it just
move.
No, it doesn't move. It's the comic slide and it just goes from one slide to the other. Does that make sense?
But I think there's voices as well. I think that there is audio.
So it's just the image, and then it does the voice. It does whatever it says on it.
Yeah, and there's different people voicing different.
But there's no movement. It's just a still image.
Yeah. It's just the comic itself. We can go into the in-story information, but basically when I didn't know anything about this comic or this character or this universe. So when I watched the first episode, most people will identify it as being very similar to DC in terms of the characters. There's like a Justice League in this universe, and then there's different characters within that Justice League which you can easily map to a DC character as well. But then it goes in a different direction from there. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So positives and negatives. Positive, I think the main positive for me is that this is, despite being, like I said, it's similar to like a DC comic or just a normal superhero universe, but it does it very differently. It's very unique in the way the story goes, I guess, and it's shown. I don't know if this is a positive or a negative, but it's very shocking in terms of another thing we didn't mention is that this is definitely, even though it looks like it's a bright, colorful animated series, it's definitely not for kids. Yeah, there's a warning at the start of every
Unless
episode
you're a
as well.
bad parent, because then it's definitely for your kids.
Yeah, so it's very violent. So definitely don't watch it with kids. What I was going to say was there is a shock factor because it is so violent. Because the first episode kind of just seemed like a normal animated
Boring.
series. Yeah, like this. You're like, yeah, this is fine, but it's nothing new. But then towards the end of that, there's something that definitely separates it from other animated series that we've got. The animating style is, I liked it, but it is, I've heard people saying that it wasn't actually that good.
I watched a video. Do you know the Corridor Crew? Have you seen their videos before?
No.
They're on YouTube and they're a bunch of visual effects artists. But it's basically one of those ones where they're like, we judge
visuals.
Like a stunt man judges stunts in this movie, and it's like a visual effects artist judges visual effects from different movies. Animators judge, yeah. And they said it's cheap animation.
Yeah.
But it's good cheap animation.
Yeah. Well, it is pretty minimal. Like there's not a lot of detail. So like if there's a color on a character, there's no like tone gradient to the color. It's just like a flat yellow, for example, on Invincible.
What they say is there's not much movement in static moments. Like when the characters aren't moving, it's just a still image, and they move that still image forward. Kind of like when they're flying, when he's flying as well, it's just a still image, and he's moving it forward. But so it's like it's cheap animation, but the reason why people say it's okay is because it's the story's good, I guess. So,
yeah, I think the story and I think the voice acting is really good. So that probably brings it up a notch because you're watching the audio and the visual. So when you combine them, I guess,
and I guess
looks fine.
Because they have such a good voice cast, they had to cut corners somewhere.
Yeah, but maybe for season 2. But I have seen the comics before,
and it looks
doing
like
this,
the comics.
Yeah, before doing this episode, I just quickly had a look at some of the comics. And it looks like the comics.
Yeah,
the style of animation. So maybe they'll continue with it.
If you're an animation aficionado, then you're probably not going to like it. Well, you're not going to think the animation's great.
Yeah.
You still might like it.
For example, the DC animated universe, I think that is probably superior to this in terms of the animation, at least. Because I know Batman animated series, even though it's like 20 years old now almost. Probably, 20. Is it 20? More than 20, I think. 1990 is when it started, I think. So, I think that's still superior in terms of the animation and probably the story as well. That's just one of the best animated series ever. Yeah. But this is still good. Negatives wise, I thought after the first episode, it kind of does slow down. Like it feels like each episode's its own thing, which is not a bad thing. But there's a revelation at the end of the first episode, and they don't really address that for there's bits and pieces in each episode, but they don't really get to the bottom of it till the end of the season, and that's when you get some answers. So it kind of keeps you hanging, and probably not in a good way because you don't really get any clues in between. There's just these episodes that happen, and there's an adventure within the episode, but it's not really contributing to the overall story that they've set up. Some of the episodes. So I thought that was a little bit of a negative. Yeah, overall, it's definitely worth a watch. It's something different. I think it's one of the better animated superhero shows going. Well, there's not many going at the moment anyway, right? So I think it's one
animated
of the best.
Superhero. Yeah. Well, there is, but they're not good.
Yeah. There is that.
They're more based at like children.
Yeah, that's right. There is that Spider-Man show, which apparently got better as the seasons have gone on.
But it's more directed at children, I think.
And I think seasons 2 and 3 should be good as well because they leave you on a bit of a cliffhanger. But this whole first season's more of an origin story-ish kind of season.
Yeah, kind of.
Cool. So we can jump into spoilers. And there's a bit to talk about in spoilers because we can go into the comic book characters and everything like that. But obviously I give it a cognitive recalibration, which is the 17th in a row this year or whatever it is, because I think every episode we've done this year has been positive.
Yeah, same.
Obviously, we recommend you go watch it. So if you do care about spoilers and you haven't watched it, go watch it, come back to this point in the episode and listen to our spoilers. Basically, the first episode starts with this character called Omni-Man, who's basically Superman, I guess, for this universe.
But there's also the Immortal, who's kind of the Superman-esque character for the Justice League. It's called the Guardians of the Globe, isn't it?
Guardians of the Globe, yeah.
Yeah, so they're the Justice League substitute, and they've got Immortal, who's kind of like the Superman of that group, I guess. But Omni-Man's also like the Superman, I guess.
Yeah, I've got the mapping here. So the Immortal is voiced by Ross Marquand.
Yeah, also from Walking Dead. Interestingly, all the characters from the Guardians of the Globe are from The Walking Dead.
And the character that they apparently map into is Vandal Savage. So he's like a fusion of Vandal Savage and Superman.
Yeah, Vandal Savage, but good.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
But he's like the Superman-esque character for the Guardians of the Globe. But Omni-Man is also Superman-esque.
Yes, yeah. And then there's a character called Darkwing,
who's like the Batman-esque
essentially
character.
Batman. And then there's Red Rush, which is the Flash.
Yeah.
Then there's Martian Man, who's Martian Manhunter.
But it's a woman in this one, in the TV show.
Oh, okay. They do switch it up in this. And she uses like a tablet or something, right? It's like a green pill or something that turns her into... Yeah. Then there is Martin Green, who's Green Ghost, which is like the Green Lantern.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, is that the lady that uses the...
No, the Martian Manhunter one is the is the lady.
Character was gender swapped from the comics for the series. Oh, so the Green Lantern,
Ghost.
Green Ghost is also a female.
Okay, no, maybe I got it wrong. Yeah. So it's Green Ghost, that's gender swapped.
And then there is War Woman, which is
Wonder Woman.
Basically Wonder Woman. And then there is Aquarius.
Aquaman.
Yeah. He's basically Aquaman, but he's literally a fish.
Yeah.
In this. And apparently Mark Quand also voices Aquarius.
Okay, yeah.
Lenny James was Darkwing. Michael Kudlitz is Red Rush. So are all these people on?
All Walking Dead alum.
Are all on Walking Dead. Lauren Cohen is War Woman.
All Walking Dead alum.
Those are the original members of the Guardians of the Globe, but they all die in the first episode. So there is a post-credit scene for each episode, except for the last episode, I think. And the post-credit scene for this one is like, it's not really a post-credit scene. It's like an actual scene because it goes for like 10 minutes. But it's basically Omni-Man murdering everyone in the Guardians of the Globe. And it's pretty violent and shocking. Yeah. There's a lot of blood and guts. Basically, you're just left with why did he do this? Because in this episode, they kind of established that he's like this guy that's been saving Earth for many, many years. Yeah. And he has, so we haven't even talked about that story, but the actual story is about his son, Omni-Man's son, hasn't got his powers, but in the first episode, he's like late teens, I guess, and he gets his powers. He discovers his powers in the first episode, and then he is invincible. So his superhero persona is invincible. But then there's also all these other younger superhero characters. So I guess they're like Young Justice.
Teen Team? Is that what they're called?
I think it's Teen Team, yeah. But then they become some of them become the new Guardians of the Globe. So there's Robot. I don't think there's any character.
Zachary Quinto.
Yes, yeah. I don't think there's any character like Robot.
Like a robot. He's kind of like, what's his name? Red Tornado in DC Comics, who's also a robot who can make tornadoes. I would say he's similar to that.
But you find out later in the season that Robot's character is actually a person.
Yes,
that controls
the robots.
And then he transfers his consciousness into another body, and then he has a proper body at the end of the season as well. He sort of has his own story going in the background. Then, as you mentioned, there's Gillian Jacobs as Adam Eve. And there's Rex Sloan or Rexplode.
Rexplode, yeah.
Jason Mantzoukas.
He's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Also, Good Place, if anyone's seen that.
And there's Duplicate. This is a character that can duplicate herself.
Yeah.
Greg Griffin, who plays Shrinking Ray. Who's Shrinking Ray again?
Oh, yeah. Yep, it's a woman. Yeah. She's in the Guardians of the Globe.
It's like Monster Girl. I think.
No, it's a different character. It's the one that's kind of like Wasp. She's Wasp. Yeah, Wasp-esque.
The same person voice as Monster Girl. That's okay. Yeah. So there's Monster Girl as well.
Yeah.
Who's a girl that turns into a monster, but then every time she turns into a monster, she gets younger. Yeah. And she comes back.
It's kind of like Hulk-esque, except he doesn't
get younger.
Yeah.
And then there is Black Samson. What's his powers again? He's just
He gets them at the end. At the start, he doesn't have his powers because he lost his powers initially.
Oh, yeah.
But then after this battle, he gets his powers back again, which I forget what they actually are. But yeah.
And then apart from them, there's, I don't know what the DC version of S.H.I.E.L.D. is, but they're like a DC, this series' version of S.H.I.E.L.D. called the Global Defense Agency. And the two main characters in that are Walter Goggins, who plays Cecil. He's like the director, the Global Defense Agency, and then there is a guy that works for him. He's like the Coulson of this, and that's Donald Ferguson. And then apart from that, there's all these other characters. So there's that Seth Rogen character who's Alan the Alien, who appears in 2 episodes, I think. And then there's some villains. So there's Doc Seismic, an earthquake-generating mad scientist.
Yep, he's in like the Adam and Invincible fight him.
Which episode was this again?
Like maybe 3rd or 4th.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Adam and Invincible. This is when Adam has a fight with her parents. It's after she leaves the Guardian. Oh, she doesn't join the Guardians of the Globe.
There's Biplane, a flight suit-wearing villain who fights the Immortal, before getting tossed into space by him.
Do you know how there's that little montage before they all get called up and then Omni-Man kills them?
So Mahershala Ali as Titan, who's a criminal enforcer who manifests a regenerative stone skin armor at will. I didn't mind that episode, but there's all these other characters that turn up in that episode.
Yeah. Should we go episode by episode, or are we just going to go?
Yeah, we can go episode by episode. I just don't remember all the episodes, but okay. I've got the outline.
I think I can remember it.
Okay, so the first one is It's About Time.
Yeah, which is kind of a boring episode, really. He gets his powers.
Apart from the end, there's not much.
And then at the end, he kills everyone.
And then there's the second episode, which is Here Goes Nothing.
This is where he meets the teen team, and there's that not intergalactic, they're like this alien things that race is trying to invade Earth.
Yeah.
But they rapidly age. Yeah.
Because the atmosphere makes them age or something like that.
Time moves differently on their planet or something.
Yeah.
But they rapidly age when they come to Earth. So he fights them like 3 times in like 4 days. But the guys he fights have aged like 60 to 70 years.
Yes. Yeah. And they look a bit like the Skrulls, I guess. A little bit.
Yeah.
They're like green aliens.
Yep.
Yeah. And And then
I thought that was an interesting concept.
Yeah, and then Omni-Man doesn't he just
He goes back to there's this guy that has a vendetta against Invincible, one of the aliens. He like has a grudge against him because Invincible beats him up once. And he's about to kill Invincible, and then Omni-Man comes and saves him.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to their planet and kills all of them.
Thing that we didn't really mention in the non-spoilers, but it is applicable, is that when there is action in this, they don't shy away from killing just instant people.
Everyone.
Yeah. So you just see like random people like die in very violent ways as well. Yeah, and then Omni-Man goes and he like kills everyone on the planet or whatever, right? But you see
he kills everyone.
Yeah.
Well, he says Earth's mine to conquer or something. Earth's not yours to conquer. And then he like leaves. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he kills a lot of them.
And he comes back with like a beard and everything because he's on that planet for
a while.
Episode 3, which is Who You Calling Ugly. In this one, after a televised funeral, the Graysons attend the Guardian's private burial with the loved ones, where Darkblood questions Nolan privately and hints at his suspicions. So Darkblood is...
he's like a Hellboy-esque character.
Yeah, essentially like a detective that looks like the Hellboy. He doesn't really do anything, right?
Mm.
He's in it, but then he's in it for a couple of episodes, but then they like send him back to hell or whatever.
He figures it out. He figures out that Omni-Man killed. Well, there's a mystery, not a mystery because we see it, but no one else knows why the Guardians are dead. And then he kind of figures out that Omni-Man did it.
He figures it out, but I think everyone else sort of knows it.
At that point as well. Yeah.
I think
in the comics it's different because he's actually like a comedic character that figures everything out after everyone already finds out. Okay. Like he's like not stupid, but he's a bad detective.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. So he finds out, he tells Cecil, but by that time Cecil already knows. Basically. Yeah. In the comics, it's a bit different. And the comics, you don't know straight away that Omni-Man killed the Guardians of the Globe.
Okay. Yeah, that's left a mystery.
He kills them so quickly that you don't see who killed them.
And he also
they
gets
put up a fight. Yeah.
He also gets quite injured in this as well.
But in the comics, he's actually a lot more powerful than he is in this even.
Okay,
he's like, no one stands a chance against him, basically. He is kind of like that in this as well. But in the comics, like when he fights the Guardians of the Globe, he finishes them all off very quickly.
So what happens in this one?
So is this the one where he goes to Mars, or is this the one where he fights the Earthquake person? They're making the new Guardians of the Globe in this one as well. So it's either it's probably not the Mars one. It's the one where he fights the Earthquake guy with Adam Eve.
We haven't talked about like Amber, who is...
yes, Zazie Beetz.
Zazie Beetz, and she's Mark's girlfriend. I think in this episode, at the end of this episode, Darkblood questions Debbie, who's Mark's mother, voiced by Sandra Oh, and then she starts to get suspicious of Nolan as well. I think this is the episode where they create the new Guardians of the Globe. 4th episode, I think this is the one where he goes to Mars. Neil Armstrong, Eat Your Heart Out.
Yep, so he goes to Mars to accompany a mission, and...
there's Martians there.
Yeah, obviously. They want to kill those guys. They want to kill the astronauts, but then he kind of saves them and brings them back.
Yeah, and then there's this... they mention this thing about the sequids.
Yeah, so it's like an alien race that once again wants to take over
Mars, right?
initially, yeah. But then they accidentally take some of them back to Earth without realizing, which isn't resolved yet, but it looks like it will happen in season 2.
And in this episode, Cecil banishes Darkblood to hell, and we don't see him ever again.
Then it's the episode where this is the Mahershala Ali episode.
So it's called That Actually Hurt, episode 5.
Mahershala Ali comes to Invincible for help to stop this guy called Machine Head, who's like the crime boss. And then Mahershala Ali essentially double crosses him at the end and takes over as crime boss. But in the middle, Invincible nearly dies from this. Yeah. What's the guy called?
Battle Beast?
Battle Beast, yeah.
Who's just like this massive...
He goes around different planets to try and find someone worthy of fighting him.
Do you think he could beat Omni-Man?
He was pretty good, yeah. It would be a good fight, but it would be interesting to see what happens. But anyway, this guy essentially comes in and beats the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, it's essentially just him, because there's
other guys, but they kind of beat those guys.
Yeah, there are other guys. And then it's not just Invincible, because Invincible goes in with Titan, and then the team...
Ali, and then the Guardians of the Globe are there
turn up as well. Yeah. And they all...
Yeah. Monster Girl nearly dies. What's that guy's name?
Black Samson.
He nearly dies.
And Robot...
doesn't die.
He doesn't die. Well, no one dies actually, but yeah.
And Invincible nearly dies.
But in the meantime, he keeps not turning up to dates and stuff with Amber.
Yeah, and she gets pissed off at him. And then the next one's the one where they go to college.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this number 6, You Kind of Look Dead. Yeah, they go to some college, and Invincible's friend...
Yep, is trying to meet his boyfriend there, and...
There's some experimentation that's happening.
There's this weird bloke there that's experimenting on, like he kidnaps college kids and he makes them into robots. Robot soldiers. And he essentially kidnaps Invincible's friend's boyfriend. And then they fight, and Amber gets angry because he disappears for a while to turn into Invincible, but then at the end of the episode, he tells her that he's invincible, but she's still pissed off at him. Yeah.
Well, she knew.
Apparently she knew, yeah.
All along. So.
But it doesn't really make sense. I thought that didn't make sense. Why was she angry? She's angry that he lied, but it's his secret identity. I guess he kind of has to lie. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was stupid.
I think she was angry that he didn't tell her.
And his friend figures out he's invincible in this episode as well.
Yes. So how many people know now?
So it's Eve, his friend.
Knows. His friend knows.
Amber knows.
And obviously Cecil and his mom.
Yeah, his parents and stuff like that. And then the second last episode.
So episode 7, We Need to Talk.
Yep. So this is the episode where Robot clones his body using...
Oh, we didn't talk about those other guys. There's these guys that...
there's these two, what are they called? The something twins.
Essentially, one is a clone of the other.
The Mauler twins, I think.
Maulers, yeah.
Is it Mauler twins?
Yeah, the Maulers.
Yeah, so the robot uses them to clone a body of Rexplode, but a younger version of Rexplode.
He gets the DNA of Rexplode at one stage.
Yeah, and then he clones his body, and then he transfers his consciousness to that body.
So that happens, and then in between, so throughout this season, Debbie is also figuring out stuff. So I think her character is probably a bit more developed in this than in the comics, I think. But she's kind of figuring out that perhaps Nolan has been lying to her.
And then she kind of confronts him.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about... So there's this guy that designs costumes as well, who's voiced by Mark Hamill. He's in a couple of episodes. He's in this episode because Debbie goes and speaks to him, and they both figure out that it was Nolan that committed the murders.
Essentially, Nolan goes to try and find Mark, which is Invincible's actual name, and then Cecil's puts up obstacles on the way.
And one thing we didn't mention is that every time there's an episode, there's an introduction where the title comes on.
Yeah, it's when someone's about to say Invincible.
Yeah, and then it says Invincible. And I only noticed this later, but the first episode is just Invincible, just blue.
Yeah, and then there's more and more blood as it goes
and then
on.
There's blood, and then each subsequent episode they keep adding the blood to it. So by the last episode, it's just all
blood everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. And I like how they did that, because there's one part where they trick you as well, because you think that he's going to tell Amber that he's invincible, and you think that it's going to come up, but he doesn't end up telling her.
Yeah. I thought it was fun. But yeah, there's like this huge kaiju monster in this one that they
that was in together. Second episode or something where Omni-Man fights it.
Yeah, and essentially at the end of the episode, Mark comes and helps Omni-Man fight the kaiju, and also Immortal gets revived by the Waller twins.
Yeah.
And they want to control him, but then he immediately breaks out of the control thing, and then he goes to try and kill Omni-Man. But Omni-Man kills him again.
And everyone sees it this time.
Yeah.
So the whole world
and Grayson sees it Mark sees it as well.
Yeah, Mark sees it as well.
And then that goes into the last episode.
So in between, Eve has this arc as well where she like leaves her parents and goes in the woods or something.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be part of the Guardians of the Globe because what's his name's part of it? Rex is part of it, who's her ex-boyfriend. And then she kind of wants to go out by herself and do something. And then she goes to Amber and she finds like Amber's like helping people. And then she's like, maybe I could just go out and help people by herself. And her parents are dicks because they don't want her to do it.
I think it's more her dad.
Yeah. And then she goes out and kind of helps people.
What are her powers? Her powers are like...
She could change anything into anything. So her Adam...
Like Wanda.
Kinda, yeah. It's like Adam, what's the word? Reorganization? When you change something into something else.
Oh, okay. Like restructuring.
Restructuring atoms, yeah.
So she's, well, that's why she's called Atom Eve.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's kind of like Scarlet Witch. At the end of the episode, you find out that Omni-Man kills Immortal.
Omni-Man kills Immortal, yep.
And everyone sees it, and then Mark's like, what's going on? And they leave you with that. Was there an end credit scene in this one?
No.
While all this is happening, Debbie and Cecil and all that are watching as well.
Yeah. Yep. And then the last episode, you kind of find out why Omni-Man's doing it.
Episode 8 is where I really come from. So in the first episode, you get a bit of a backstory. He talks about how he comes from this empire called Viltrumite, the Viltrumite Empire, and he kind of lies, and he tells Mark that they send people to different planets to like act as guardians for different planets.
Yeah, it's kind of like Green Lanterns, essentially. Yeah.
But essentially the reason why they actually send people out, well, the Viltrumites out to different planets is to take over them and essentially just kill everyone on the planet. And he was just waiting for the right time to do this. So I think he was waiting for Mark to get his powers because he knew that he would be half Viltrumite and he didn't want to kill everyone before he got his powers.
He wanted to do it together.
So he waited for that. And then once he got his powers, he goes and kills the Guardians of the Globe. And then in this episode, he kills a lot of people.
Yeah, he kind of beats. Mark doesn't want to join him. And to make him join him, he beats the shit out of him. And then to teach him a lesson, he kills a lot of people with him. Like there's this part when these fighter jets come and fight. They try and kill him. And then Mark saves them. And then he comes down and he kills both of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's this part where he like goes into a subway and he just holds Mark and he goes through the train.
Yeah, through the train and kills everyone.
Kills everyone on the train. And obviously you see all the blood and guts as well. So there's this is probably the most violent episode. Then you find out that obviously he's been lying the whole time and his mom finds out as well. There was no real redemption apart from the fact that he didn't kill Mark. So because there's this short flashback scene where when Mark was a kid and he's playing baseball or whatever, and it kind of shows that he has some feelings for his son, so he doesn't end up killing him, but then he just leaves the planet and you don't know what happened. And then the series, it kind of ends. That's like the middle of the episode. Because there's like this whole part afterwards where they're kind of just like
winding down.
Yeah, wrapping things up more or less. So Mark, he recovers. Would have taken him a while to recover from all of that, but he recovers. I think he becomes like the guardian of the planet, I guess, in place of Omni-Man. Well, Cecil asked him and he said he wasn't sure, but I think in the end he decides he will be. The last part of the episode is he ends up meeting Alan the alien again, and apparently Alan the alien was going to the wrong planet all this time.
Oh, no, you find that out in the first one when you first see him. So he goes back and he's like, oh, shit, I need to talk to my...
Yeah, and now he comes back to tell them that there's a
Viltrumite on the planet.
Planet. Well, they already knew that. And then it just ends with all these other things happening. So that like they flash back.
Yeah, it's like a montage to all the other stuff that is unresolved.
So there's those aliens that come back to... That came in that second episode, I think.
The aliens that age quickly.
Yeah, there's a Battle Beast dude.
Yeah, Battle Beast. There's Mahershala Ali's character. There's the Mars aliens.
And there's some other stuff that we didn't even see, I think, that they just flashed to.
Yeah.
That's that. The the end of the first episode and obviously the last episode are the most important episodes. The ones in between, there's things here and there. There's build up, but I thought could have been faster. They could have addressed other things, but overall it was fine.
I think it's pretty true to the comic, and it's a good time.
So other people,
there's some comic changes, but overall it's pretty true to it.
Yeah. So other people that are in the show, can you guess one other person that's in the show?
Just anyone.
Yeah, just anyone that we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Like actors wise.
Okay. Who is it? Like, tell me the character.
Okay. The Martian Emperor.
The Martian Emperor? No idea.
So it's our favorite Jimon Honso.
Oh, okay. Do you know what? I was actually going to say Digimon Honso, but I'm like, it's probably not him.
But he's in it, yeah. He's the Martian Emperor, so he's the one on Mars. He has like 2 dialogues.
He loves being in everything.
Yeah, he loves being in comic book stuff. So he's like, I'm going to... I think that's just how you convince him. They're like, you tell him all this story, he's like, I don't know. And then you're like, it's a comic book. It's like, okay, yeah.
I'll do it.
I'll do it. John Hamm is the Secret Service agent guarding the White House in the front gate. So he's in the first episode, isn't he?
Yep. And he's also in a later episode where they're in front of the Buckingham Palace with his son.
And who else? There is, we said Mark Hamill.
Oh, actually, one that people might like is, what's his name? It's the guy that made Rick and Morty.
Ezra Miller's in this.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yep, yeah. He plays the mad scientist.
Yeah. Jeffrey Donovan is Machine
He's in
Man.
that same episode as the mad scientist one. He plays the drunk college student.
That seems like a pretty inconsequential character to play.
But he plays Rick in Rick and Morty. Okay. And he's also the creator of Rick and Morty. Justin Roiland.
Yeah, that's that. So there's big voice cast, decent story. So I think it's worth a watch at some stage if you haven't watched it.
If you haven't watched it, it's probably worth watching.
And I was going to watch Stephen Yeun's Minari at some stage.
Is that a movie he's in?
Yeah, it's a Korean. It's an American, like American/Korean production.
Yeah,
so it's in Korean, mostly in Korean, I think. But it was nominated for a few Academy Awards. It didn't win, but I think it won Best Supporting Actor. I think he was nominated for Best Actor. In the comics, is Invincible meant to be half Asian?
Yeah.
Okay, and J.K. Simmons. We didn't talk about it, but J.K. Simmons.
Oh yeah, J.K. Simmons is Omni-Man. Yeah,
he's pretty good. If we were to do this in live action, who'd you get for Omni-Man?
Lots of people are saying John Hamm.
A lot of people say him for a lot of things.
Yeah. He's just that. He's got that generic face that kind of suits those.
He could be Omni-Man because Omni-Man's slightly older as well. What about
Henry Cavill? Some people say
might be a bit too young, but they could age him up.
Yeah,
he's basically Superman anyway. So
yeah.
What about for Invincible?
I don't know. Actually, that's
tough.
There's not that many people like a young Asian actor.
Yeah,
Stephen Yeun's
a bit older.
However you say his last name, he's probably too old. Yeah.
You know that guy in Far From Home who takes photos of people in the bathroom?
Yeah, he's possible. Yeah, he could do it.
He looks like it. Just based on looks, he looks like him. When's season 2? I think it'll be...
it'll be a while, I think.
Started it,
yeah,
right?
so they take a while to do the animation and stuff, I assume.
All right. If people want to get in touch with us about Invincible, how do they go about it?
We're Cognitive Recalibration on all podcasts. On all...
Platforms.
That's the word I was looking for. And then
on all social media platforms.
Yep. And then to email us, you can at cognitiverecalibrationpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and if you want to support the podcast, you can do so via our Amazon affiliate links and our Buy Me a Coffee link, where you can give us a one-off donation, which we'll use to further develop the podcast. Best way to support us is actually by giving us a review on iTunes, because that makes us more discoverable on search engines. And if you listen to us on any of the other podcast streaming platforms, such as Spotify, for example, don't think there is a mechanism for you to give us a rating, but the way the algorithm works for those ones is essentially just the download. So keep listening to us and keep recommending us to anyone else that might be interested. All right, so next week, we don't really have anything planned. So we do have an advanced screening for A Quiet Place Part 2 in a couple of weeks. And I think the embargo lifts after that advanced screening. So we could do it essentially a week earlier than it releases. But we've got a week in between. So we could do Jupiter's Legacy on Netflix, because that's out now.
Yeah, I heard it's not that good. I was going to watch it on Friday night, but then I looked at some reviews and they said it was...
Not good?
They said it's like a prequel to a show that would be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could do that, or we could do something else. We could do Quiet Place Part 1 if we want to. Because I actually haven't watched it. So
Oh, you haven't seen it before?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So we could do Quiet Place Part 1 and then Part 2 the week after. And then the week after that, I think there's Cruella. Yeah. And then you're off for a while after that.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks.
For a couple of weeks. Yep.
Yeah. There's also the Bad Batch, but how many episodes are there in the Bad Batch?
I'm
2
not
are
sure.
already out now, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them yet.
Okay. I've seen the first episode's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is coming from someone who hasn't watched Clone Wars or Rebels. I didn't find it too hard to get into it. Like, it wasn't like you needed all this background to watch the first episode. So
you can kind of follow it.
Well, we'll see. Probably Quiet Place Part 1 then.
Yeah, we'll
next
see.
Week.
Unless Jupiter's Legacy is better than everyone says it is.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
Or we could do that later as well. So, all right. So thanks everyone for listening, and I hope you're all staying safe, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Want the epic stuff, the extraordinary stuff, the edge of your seat stuff? You know, the good stuff. With AMC Plus, you can watch the best of AMC, BBC America, IFC, Sundance Now, Shudder, and more. Hungry for horror? Feast on Shudder's chilling originals like Creepshow Season 2 and killer premieres like Train to Busan Presents Peninsula. Got a need for speed? The boys are back with an epic tour of the UK as Top Gear races through a new season. All available on AMC Plus, ad-free and on demand. Start your free trial today at amcplus.com. AMC Plus, only the good stuff.